The warp was never silent. It screamed with the voices of unending madness, emotions given flesh, dreams turned into nightmares. But then came something alien to its chaos, a presence without feeling, without thought, without soul. The warp trembled, as if creation itself held its breath. Something had entered that was not meant to exist within emotion's storm. From the void between realities, he emerged. His mask cracked and burned, yet unbroken. His machete carried stains from countless lives long gone. Jason Voorhees, the man who had died 1,000 times, now walked where death had no meaning. Each step he took left ripples, not of fear, but of pure silence. The warp had seen gods fall and worlds burn, but never this. Death without a reason. Cross the infinite tides of madness. The entities of the warp turned their gaze. Khorne, Lord of Blood, felt a new scent, one that neither bled nor begged. Tzeentch's eternal schemes flickered, unable to predict this intruder's path. Nurgle's rot paused, uncertain whether this being could decay. Even Slaanesh, whose pleasure was bound to sensation, felt nothing from him. Jason was a blank, an insult to existence itself. Memories of Crystal Lake whispered faintly, echoing like forgotten prayers. But they were not his memories anymore. The warp reshaped everything it touched, yet Jason remained the same. His hatred, his silence, his purpose, all beyond corruption. Where other souls screamed, he walked in calm stillness. His presence began to distort the landscape, draining color and sound, until only shadow remained. Demons crept from the void to greet him, shrieking forms of teeth and rage, eager to consume a new soul. But when they struck, they found no soul to devour. Their claws passed through him, as if he were both real and not. Jason did not fight. He simply stood, and one by one, the demons collapsed into dust. Their forms dissolved, their essence erased, as though their existence had been denied by something older than the warp itself. The warp had seen mortals rise as gods, seen stars devoured and reborn. Yet this intruder was something different. He had no purpose, no faith, no desire, only inevitability. Even the chaos gods, born of emotion, struggled to comprehend a being without any. Jason Voorhees was not chaos. He was the absence of it, a fixed point in a sea of insanity. And so, the warp grew silent around him. Oceans of screaming souls hushed. Rivers of blood froze mid-flow. For the first time in eternity, the Chaos Realm felt something it had never known. Stillness. Jason did not bring order. He brought nothingness. The kind of void that existed before creation dared to dream. The kind of silence that even gods feared to hear. Khorne was the first to act. The blood god could not stand stillness. It was an insult to his eternal war. From the Crimson Throne, he roared, and the warp shook as rivers of gore formed into soldiers of bone and rage. They charged at Jason, screaming his defiance. Jason didn't move. When the first blade struck his mask, it shattered into ash. The berserkers fell, one after another, not because he struck them, but because their rage met something it could not feed upon. Khorne himself appeared, a towering god of iron and fury. His axe, forged from the skulls of forgotten kings, burned with 1,000 wars. He swung it once, and reality split. Jason stood still, his head tilting slightly. From the depths of decay came laughter, heavy and bubbling. Nurgle, grandfather of rot, watched with grotesque curiosity. He sent forth his plagues, a tide of filth meant to drown even the warp's own horrors. The air filled with the stench of death. But Jason walked through it, untouched. The disease had no host to cling to. His flesh was neither alive nor dead. It simply was. Nurgle's laughter faded into uncertainty. For the first time in eternity, rot found something it could not claim. Then the skies above shifted, turning into endless eyes. Tzeentch, the great schemer, observed through countless visions of what was, is, and could be. He whispered 1,000 possible outcomes, each rewriting time itself. But every prophecy from the depths of sensation came Slaanesh, draped in colors beyond mortal sight. The Prince of Excess smiled, intrigued. Every soul has a desire, the voice purred, even those who deny it. But when Slaanesh reached into Jason's mind, there was nothing. No fear, no pleasure, no memory. Only stillness, infinite and cruel. The god recoiled, screaming as if the void itself had bitten back. Desire could not survive where emotion did not exist. The warp's great powers, each born from the extremes of mortal feeling, had faced countless foes, but never one so hollow. They were gods of passion and purpose. He was neither. Jason was not resistance. He was inevitability. As Jason walked deeper into the warp, entire regions began to fade. Daemon worlds cracked and folded in upon themselves. The energies of chaos recoiled like waves retreating from a shore. The warp was consuming itself around him, unable to sustain its own essence. To exist in chaos is to feel, and Jason felt nothing. The more he walked, the more the warp remembered what emptiness truly was. The warp began to unravel. Colors lost their madness, screams lost their echo. Jason Voorhees walked through it all, his presence erasing everything that defined this cursed dimension. He was not killing, he was unmaking. The Chaos Gods watched as their dominion dimmed, their power feeding on emotion, now starving in his silence. It was not war. It was entropy, the return to nothing. Khorne struck again, driven by fury alone. He descended upon Jason with fists that had shattered planets, each blow meant to rip time apart. But Jason did not fall. He did not fight back. Khorne's rage burned itself out like fire denied oxygen. His armor cracked, his voice broke, and his final scream was silent. The blood god vanished, not slain, but forgotten, erased from a place that remembered everything. Tzeentch tried to rewrite it all. He spun the threads of fate, weaving realities where Jason had never existed. But every loop ended the same way. Jason standing in the void, watching him. Even destiny obeyed the silence. The architect of fate realized the one truth he could not alter. A force beyond fought cannot be unfought. In that realization, he too faded, leaving only still air where endless schemes once danced. Nurgle wept, his garden withering, every flower of rot turned to dust. His laughter, once eternal, dissolved into despair. He offered Jason a gift. Life. Slaanesh stood last. The Prince of Excess whispered softly, offering beauty, agony, eternity. Jason stood before them, his mask cracked, his blade hanging limp. For a moment, the warp held its breath. Then, in Slaanesh's reflection, the gods saw nothing. No lust, no joy, no purpose. Just a void. And in that void, even the Prince of Pleasure felt fear. Slaanesh's form shimmered, then melted into the silence, consumed by its own emptiness. Now, there were no gods, no demons, no warp. Only Jason, standing in a realm that no longer existed. The silence stretched forever. He looked at his machete, rusted and dull, and dropped it. The universe beyond the warp stirred. For the first time, the immaterium and the materium touched without chaos between them. A single ripple spread through reality. Quiet, cold, endless. Somewhere, a mortal dreamed of a lake shrouded in fog, and a man in a mask standing alone on its surface. The dreamer woke in terror, unable to recall why. In the silence that followed, Jason Voorhees simply remained, neither god nor man, neither alive nor dead. The warp was gone, but death was not, because death cannot be destroyed. It only waits. And somewhere beyond time, the mask turned, as if listening for the next scream.